Can I just ask you something?
Yeah.
I looked up, because I'm not as familiar with your politics as I should be.
Yes.
I looked her up, and I think what I was so struck by was that she's a member of the Conservative Party.
Right.
And that suggested to me that there isn't a choice in British politics. There's really just one party.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. It's a uni-party.
But they're not even pretending at this point.
They're not really pretending. Here's a sort of an extraordinary thing that appears to be playing out. In addition to just being casually informed by the legacy media that we're on the precipice of war with Russia and that conscription might be reintroduced in 2024, there was a COVID inquiry in our country, which, by the way, I don't imagine for a second would have happened without independent media reporting, without voices like Jay Bhattacharya,
yes,
who was shut down. Or voices like Michael Schellenberger or Berenson, people that have been shut down and vilified at large and extensively. The COVID inquiry has already cost £145 million. It's being booted off and delayed indefinitely, but at least until after the general election. Like many countries, there's an election in our country this year. But as usual, it's between two neoliberal, what you might term centrist parties that are ultimately dominated and controlled by the same concerns, where an extraordinary focus is spent on the tiny, minute differences. But it's the party nominally of the left is ultimately a centralist neoliberal party.
Yes.
The party nominally of the right is a neoliberal centralist party. They may quibble about some issues that seem significant, and certainly those issues are stoked and amplified, but neither party will say, we are going to have a thorough investigation into what went on in that pandemic. That clearly was a lab leak. It looks like it was a bioweapon. It's been concealed. The people that we entrusted with our response to that pandemic are likely explicitly linked to the leak in the first instance. These kind of stories are never told. There are no legacy media organisations that worked in conjunction with one another to attack me, evidently, and by their own reckoning over a series of years. They are not conducting investigations into Epstein Island. They're not conducting investigations into the nature of the pandemic, how it was funded, where the money went, where it came from, the efficacy of lockdowns. Where are these investigations?
Even the fabled Times of London?
The fabled Times of London.
It's such garbage.
It's astonishing.
So there's nobody and pardon my ignorance, I'm peering in from the outside, but there really isn't any big media organization in your country. It's even trying to answer the question, what was that? Where'd this virus come from? No one's doing that.
Do you know one of the things that I find terrifying about becoming more educated about this space, Tucker, mostly by listening to more educated voices than my own, is that many of the things a person might instinctively feel, such as you feel like, yourself, forgive my ignorance, I don't know much about British politics, but the way that one might intuit, hey, should we not be provoking Russia into a war? Don't they have nuclear weapons? Should we think very carefully about that? I mean, how much do we want Ukraine in NATO? And do we even need NATO anyway? The kind of things you might think if you didn't go to university, if you're a regular blue collar person working for a living, maybe in the police force or the fire service or as a nurse or as a teacher, something that gives real value to your nation, the kind of things you might think, they're true. Those ideas are true. And in order to prevent you from reaching those ordinary everyday regulations, a machine is put to constant work to conquer the space of your attention, incessantly and relentlessly, filling your mind with dumb ideas and dumb distractions, making you believe that some sugar or a screen might be a convenient palliative as your children are marched off into an unwinnable forever war. We've been thinking lately before, with the Houthis and stuff, I'm being deliberately glib, but it's like you go from not ever having heard the word Houthi to being invited to hate the Houthis. Oh, the Houthis, we've got to hate the Houthis now. And you're just to move a battleship into that region, think of the taxpayer dollars. And it's not as if the Pentagon are going to be passing an audit anytime soon and telling you where this money is actually going. And $2 trillion was spent on Afghanistan. And if you think of the before and after picture of Afghanistan, oh, well, thank God we spent that $2 trillion because before Afghanistan was, and now Afghanistan is. It's very difficult to fill in those sentences, isn't it? And so what I'm saying is your sort of easy dismissiveness of what British politics amounts to is probably right. Two corrupt parties pursuing the same ultimate end. Keep people tyrannized, keep people distracted, keep them turned on one another over minor issues that will not ultimately affect their lives or the lives of their children, so that the agenda of the powerful can be pursued without opposition.